So I was born in the 1980s in Toledo, Ohio. Both my parents were heroin addicts. I had a really, really tough childhood. It was me and my three sisters. We had a grandma that kind of held things together. When grandma passed, child services got involved. When child services got involved, me and my sisters got split up. So I went through a lot of foster homes, like 10 to 15 of them. I went to 10 to 15 churches. I had 10 to 15 moms and dads, a lot of rules. I was in 4th grade and I was at a school I really liked. And my sisters happened to be at that same school with their foster parents. And they called us in the office and they had the garbage bags already ready. So I knew we were leaving the school, and I loved that school. When you're young, you don't understand why things are happening to you. So I think I spent a lot of my life dealing with that. So then I was adopted to the Garners in Farmersville, Ohio. So I went from a big city to a little farm. My grandpa in the Garners was a preacher. So we attended a church there. I never really paid attention, to be honest with you, at that church. I was just still busy in my head surviving. So when I went off to college, there was a new movement in America. It's called the New Atheist Movement. They would go on college tours and tell you why God isn't real. They would literally spend an entire tour explaining to you why God isn't real. I think I got caught up in that in college. I only listened to one side of the argument ever. And I really wasn't willing to listen to people after that. I'd say my heart was hardened, as they say. My dad would try to talk to me, my father-in-law, my wife, and I kind of had no interest. And then I think it was 3-4 years ago, every year I make a goal. I do a yearly something outrageous, like, do I want to build my body up this year? Do I want to run a 10K? And one year I committed to going to church every week. And I started off really strong that year. And then Brittany had a stroke. And I remember in the hospital, I was really mad at God. And Diane, the pastor, came in. She's the only visitor we had seen. And she said, let's pray. So I did. And the craziest thing happened that week. Brittany's room's the one at the furthest end. And at the start of the week, I was so mad that she was in there. I remember when we left the hospital, I had 1,000 messages, and I read them all. And I find it weird that the year I chose to go to church is the year I really, really needed God the most, you know? I think through this, He's helping my capacity to love, you know? My ability to see people's pain outside of myself. And that maybe things aren't so bad. I think Jesus met me at my lowest point. I think I was still in a spot where I was trying to figure out my childhood, you know, the justice of why would I grow up that way. And I think Jesus met me at the hospital with Brittany. I feel like rebuilding my faith is me building a relationship with Jesus. I'll never forget the sermon where Mark had like a serpent up on the board, and I thought we were really gonna talk about Revelation, and he said the most honest thing. He said, I'm not sure, but are you ready to have a relationship with Jesus? And that question has stuck with me ever since. So I've been trying my hardest to build a relationship with Jesus. You know, somebody that I want to spend eternity with.